Today we are going to be continuing with Learning Target 1 from Unit 8, which is I can calculate the volume of cylinders, cones, and spheres. And we're going to be focusing primarily on the volume of cones. So the volume of cones is very similar to how we calculated the volume of cylinders. However, you'll notice that in the formula we've added an element, which is this 1/3. Because if we were in class, I could show you we could take a cylinder, and if we poured water from the cylinder into a cone, it would only take about 1/3 of the water that's in the cylinder, and it would leave 2/3. So it actually is quite interesting that the cylinder is 1/3 of the volume of a cone. So we're just going to be putting that into our formula that we were using prior with our volume of cylinders. So if we're looking at example 1 here, it says find the volume of the cone, round to the nearest hundredth. So again, so we're going to use our same formula that we used yesterday. However, in addition to the pi r squared h, we're going to add a 1/3 before it, pi r squared h, right there. And we are going to fill in our values. So I know that volume is what I'm looking for. I know the pi button we're going to be using to calculate pi, or to include pi. The r, our radius, I can see in my diagram here that they give me the radius, so that is 3, and the height of my cone is 6 inches. So if I plug this in, 1/3 times pi times 3 squared times 6. Okay, so again, 1/3 times pi times 9 times 6. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to multiply 1/3 times 9 times 6 first. So we know 9 times 6 is 54, and then times 1/3 is going to be 18, so that leaves me with the volume equals 18 pi, and then I'm just going to multiply 18 times pi, so 18 times that pi button, and that gives me a value of 56.55 inches cubed for my volume. And again, remembering we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, so we would have to round that 4 in the hundredths place up to a 5, since the 8 is in the thousandths place. Looking at example 2, it says a cone-shaped paper cup is filled with water. The height of the cup is 10 centimeters, and the diameter, be careful, the diameter is 8 centimeters. What is the volume of the paper cup? Round to the nearest hundredth. So, if we are looking at, we're starting with volume equals 1/3 pi radius squared times h. I'm looking for the volume. Pi is going to be the button, the pi button. My radius, again, remember the diameter is twice the radius, so if I cut the diameter in half, that will give me the radius. So my radius is 4 centimeters, and then my height is 10 centimeters for this cup. So if I plug that in, I get 1/3 times pi times 4 squared times 10. So 1/3 times pi times 16 times 10. And again, I'm going to multiply 1/3 times 16 times 10. And when I do that, I get 53 1/3, because it's 53.33333, so 53 1/3 pi. And then if I were to multiply that out, so times pi, I get 167.55 my units is centimeters cubed. So my volume is 167 and 55 hundredths centimeters cubed. If we're looking at missing values, for example 8, it says find the height of a cone with a volume of 150 inches cubed and a radius of 10 inches. So again, I'm going to start with the volume equals 1/3 times pi times radius squared times height. And again, identify what values I know. And I know that my radius, actually I'm going to just write it below with the problem. Okay, so my volume is 150, so volume is 150. The 1/3 will stay the same, pi will always stay the same, and I'm told that the radius is 10, so that would be 10 squared, and then I am looking for the height. So to simplify, I have 150 equals 1/3 pi times 100 times height. And if I were to multiply 100 times 1/3, I get 33 1/3 times pi times h equals 150. So I'm going to divide 150 divided by, well, let's start with dividing by 100, and then I'm going to divide by 1/3, and I would get 4.5 equals pi times height, divide by pi, and I get that my height is equal to approximately 1.43, again rounded to the nearest hundredth. So h is equal to 1.43 inches cubed. Looking at example 10, my numbering is off. Okay, so find the radius of a cone with a volume of 196 pi millimeters cubed and a height of 12 millimeters. And remember that leaving the pi attached to the value, it's going to be the exact answer since we're not needing to estimate, but this is called, or we would refer to this as being left in terms of pi. So if I write out my formula again, volume equals 1/3 pi radius squared times h. My volume is 196 pi, and then 1/3 pi times radius squared times 12. Okay, so 12 times 1/3 is going to be 4. And then I would get 196 pi equals 4 pi times radius squared. Then I can divide by 4 pi on both sides. And again, remember, if I have a pi in the numerator and the denominator, they cancel to 1. So 196 divided by 4 is 49. So 49 equals r squared, and then I need to take the square root, which would give me a radius of 7. So my radius equals 7 millimeters. Okay, so again, just really making sure that you're being careful with these, finding the missing values as to when you are including pi, or if you're leaving it in terms of pi. Okay, your homework is on Delta Math, so log into deltamath.com and complete the volume of cones. Be sure that you're using the pi button. You'll need to complete 5 problems correctly in order for it to be submitted as complete. You have 2 opportunities before it marks an answer as wrong, so be sure that you're paying attention to what your mistakes might be if you do get an error on the first attempt, so that you're not trying to make up too many values. Alright, if you have any questions, stop by during office hours from 12:30 to 1:30, or send me an email anytime. Okay, talk to you later. Bye!